Okay, let's dive right into this fascinating explainer. We're going to unpack a totally unique, frankly brilliant philosophical framework for untangling conflicts. I mean, we all deal with friction, right? It could be a twisted dynamic in your own living room or those massive headline-making societal disputes we see every day. Well, the source text we're looking at today completely challenges our basic assumptions about power, how we negotiate, and how things actually get resolved in the real world. Seriously, it's going to change how you look at your very next argument. So here's our quick roadmap. First, we'll redefine the concept of the week. Then we'll cover the 30% rule, look at the 3 stages of completion, talk about a ticking time bomb scenario, and finally wrap up with finding fundamental solutions. Let's get into it. Section 1. Redefining the weep. Let me ask you something. When you're in the middle of a tense argument, who actually holds the power? We usually assume it's the boss, the older person, or honestly, just whoever is yelling the loudest. We think of them as the strong one. But this source material asks us to completely flip that assumption on its head and rethink who is actually the weak party, the one who actually needs to step up and initiate a resolution. And here's the crucial twist. Whoever feels frustrated and actually needs the situation to change, they are defined as the weak party. It has literally nothing to do with your gender, your age, or your job title. The source gives a really relatable example. Say a husband and wife are at odds. If the wife is the one feeling stifled and frustrated, in that specific dynamic, she is the weak party. But if the husband is the one feeling trapped, then he is the weak one. And according to this framework, it's the weak, the frustrated person, who has to carefully approach the strong to get things to change. Which brings us to Section 2, the 30% rule. So when you do approach someone to try and fix a dynamic, you can't just barge in and demand everything you want all at once. Instead, you gently ask for less than 30% of your ultimate goal. Why 30%? Well, that represents the initial energy required to gently melt the other person's defenses. You're bringing them a request that is small enough for them to actually digest without feeling attacked. And once their guard is down, that initial 30% effort organically paves the way for the remaining 70% success. You're building a foundation here, not demanding a total surrender. I absolutely love the specific phrasing the source uses for this. I approach, gently melt them, and what I need to obtain is under 30%. Just think about that. Instead of aggressively demanding a 100% change right out of the gate, which, let's be real, just guarantees the other person is going to throw up massive defensive walls, this tactile, gentle method of melting the opposition just naturally lowers their guard. And why is this so absolutely crucial? Because by restraining yourself and only pushing for that 30%, you aren't just winning some tiny isolated battle. You're creating this massive ripple effect. You smooth out the immediate tension, which is obviously great for your family or your team in the short term, but more importantly, you're building deep, vital trust. By proving you can negotiate reasonably, you lay down a rock-solid stepping stone for future requests. You're playing the long game here. All right, Section 3, 3 stages of completion. Let's look at the broader laws at play. The text highlights a really fascinating concept. We live in a 3-dimensional world, and because of that, true completion always requires passing through 3 distinct stages. There are just no shortcuts in nature. Whether you are untangling a massive dispute, learning a complex skill, or building a huge empire, the energy has to burn through 3 distinct phases for it to be truly complete. To make this a bit more concrete, the source uses the example of building a business. It points out that it actually takes 3 generations of continuous effort and energy to achieve a fully stable, completed enterprise. The first generation lays the groundwork, the second generation grows and expands it, and it's only in that 3rd generation that it reaches a state of true completion. This step-by-step energy burn is just a fundamental natural law we have to respect. Moving right along to Section 4, the ticking time bomb. Let's zoom out and look at macro-level conflicts. There's a massive disconnect happening right now. The source impartially points out that current government mediation tactics often completely ignore these natural laws. Instead of working towards a fundamental resolution, forced mediation just relies on lightly suppressing either the weak or the strong, just to make the headache temporarily go away. It's a completely artificial fix. They essentially sweep the problem under the rug and say, hey, let's deal with this later, rather than actually doing the hard work to untangle the knot. And what's the result of all that forced suppression? Well, because we've relied on artificial fixes instead of fundamental resolutions over and over again, the emotional polarization, especially between labor and management, has accumulated to a toxic level. According to the source, that underlying hostility has built up to 70%. That is a massive reservoir of unresolved anger just boiling right beneath the surface. Which leads to perhaps the most chilling observation in this whole explainer. The source warns that while things might look quiet right now, it's a total illusion. The current peace is just being suppressed by a difficult economy. The source actually uses a brilliant, vivid analogy here. People have all this pent-up anger, but they literally don't have the bus fare to go out and fight right now because times are so tough. But make no mistake, the resentment hasn't gone anywhere. These unaddressed frustrations are a ticking time bomb. The exact moment the economy improves even slightly and resources free up, all that suppressed energy is going to detonate. Finally, Section 5, Finding Fundamental Solutions. This framework completely redefines leadership. The true job of intellectuals and leaders isn't to bicker over political seats or just enforce more artificial suppression. Their actual role is to deeply study these natural laws, like the 3-7 rule and the 3 stages of completion, and use them to mediate our societal conflicts accurately and peacefully. By researching real, root-level solutions to untangle this deep societal polarization, intellectuals can finally earn the genuine respect of the public. The goal has to be creating a society where people can genuinely live well, rather than just quietly suffering in a suppressed state. So I'll leave you with this thought to ponder today. It really challenges us to take a hard look at our own lives. Are we truly untangling the knots in our relationships and in our society? Are we gently approaching the strong with that 30% mindset to build real, lasting trust? Or are we just burying our frustrations through forced suppression and basically resetting the timer on a bomb for later? It's a profound framework for navigating the friction in our world. Thanks so much for exploring this explainer with me, and definitely keep questioning how you approach the conflicts in your own life.